his combination into the useless suitcase lock. The doorbell rang, and Dog immediately started to bark. The bonehead had never figured out stealth was key to a successful attack. All the dog was doing was alerting whoever was out there to his presence. Mac leapt out of Jamie's arms. Dog was part of his pack now, a sacrifice that had to be made for Jamie's happiness. That meant Mac had to do what he could to keep the dog safe from his own stupidity. When Mac reached the door, he gave Dog's ropey tail a little whack, partly to get him out of the way, and partly because it was fun. He opened his mouth wide and used his tongue to flick air inside. That gave him extra intel. It was a woman outside, and she was unhappy. Big time unhappy. Jamie opened the door a crack. "Briony, hi. I have to grab my cat. MacGyver is a complete escape artist. I'm talking a climb-up-the-chimney escape artist. We had to block up the fireplace. Also, the dog, Dog, will jump on you. I know I should be able to tell him no, and actually I can tell him no, but it has no effect. But he's friendly. Okay, brace yourself." She scooped Mac up under one arm, pulled the door open, and backed up. As soon as the woman stepped inside, the bonehead planted both paws on her shoulders, but before he could wash her face with his enormous tongue, David was able to grab him by the collar and pull him away. He hauled Dog upstairs, and a few seconds later, pathetic howls filled the house. The bedroom door was easy to open with even the most basic skills, but Dog didn't have even the most basic skills. Mac took another deep breath. Yes, this woman was extremely sad. She needed Mac's help. He had things to do, escapes to make, naps to take. But clearly, he'd have to get involved here. The woman had to be smarter than Dog, but obviously not smart enough to solve whatever was wrong. That would require a master. Fortunately for her, she'd come to MacGyver's door. About 5 minutes after arriving at her cousin Jamie's front door, Briony Kleeman found herself at the kitchen table. Jamie was filling the tea kettle, while her cat, MacGyver, sat on the counter, staring at Briony with his unblinking golden eyes. Briony wasn't quite sure how she'd gotten there. She wasn't quite sure how she'd gotten to Los Angeles at all. Less than a day ago, she was walking toward the altar of the little white Peace of Prince Lutheran Church in Wisconsin. Her hand was resting on her father's arm. Her feet were walking over rose petals scattered by her 3-year-old cousin. Her train, trimmed with lace from her great-great-grandmother's wedding dress, was being carried by Caleb's niece. Everything was just as planned. She looked at Caleb. He was smiling as he watched her walk toward him. Then, everything went wobbly. The floor, her father's arm, the faces of the guests. Caleb. A mix of dizziness and nausea flooded her, and everything went dim, then dark. "Briony," Jamie said, her voice jerking Briony away from the memory of that horrible morning. "What kind of tea do you want? I have orange spice, lemongrass, chai black, Earl Grey, mint, and a bunch of others. I've recently become a tea convert. Not that I'd ever give up coffee, and you can have coffee if you'd rather. Also, I have some juice, cranberry and orange, and some sparkling water. And some unsparkling water. So, what'll you have?" Too many choices. Briony couldn't remember half of them, probably because part of her felt like she was still back in the church with the world slipping out from under her. "You choose." "You sure? Some of the teas aren't, everyone's cup of tea," Jamie answered, her brown eyes filled with concern. "I just feel... somehow Briony shook her head helplessly. "I just can't make a decision, even about what to drink. I know it's stupid." "It's not stupid. You must be exhausted," Jamie said. "Yeah, I thought I'd fall asleep on the plane, but I couldn't."